This week was definitely not how I planned this week's episode, and I might not get up through all of this. So it might be a mix of places and noises. Hang in there with me. Right now, I'm sitting in a hospital pre-op room, waiting for tests, waiting for surgery, waiting for a forced pause I didn't exactly plan for. Sometimes life gives you the break that you need, even when you don't want it. This, again, isn't going to be a perfect episode, but it's real. It's part of life. I just wanted to bring you into this moment with me because this is real life happening right now. Welcome back to Crumbcake and Chaos. I'm Carrie Shelley, mom of 4 and 2 angel babies, wife, world record holder, side hustle queen, owner of Enchanted Cakes and Treats, and today, apparently, podcasting from a hospital gown with an IV. And today, I want to talk about something we don't choose very often: slowing down. The forced pause of life. Not choosing to stop, but being forced to. We're used to being in control, but that doesn't always happen. The discomfort of waiting for people who run businesses and household can be painful. Sometimes life hits pause for you when you don't do it yourself. I'm used to being the one holding everything together, and today I have to sit still. I used to hear all the time, you gotta slow down to speed up. And I never understood that. I thought that was the goofiest thing in the world. But when life forces you to slow down, you end up speeding up. You get ideas, and the rest you get feels wonderful. My brain, every time I've been forced to slow down, it is like a reset. It is so refreshing, and my body feels great, my brain feels great, and man, do I come up with the quirkiest business ideas. I come up with menu ideas and new businesses and things I want to do and bucket lists and things that I should have done that I didn't do. Sometimes you need to slow down in order to speed up. And that's hard because we don't want to take the time. We feel like we can't take the time. And the stress of taking time off, man, that will eat you alive. I'm used to being the one holding everything together. And today, I just gotta sit still. The stress of preparing the business, preparing the staff, preparing the husband and kids, planning for absence. Oh, the mental load is real. And the stress isn't just the surgery. It's everything you have to prepare so that life keeps moving without you. It's making sure the orders are done, making sure there's extra change in the change drawer. It's making sure that they have all the keys, making sure they have all the codes, making sure they know what to do if you're out for longer than you're supposed to be. Hey, you can't call me. This is who you call if there's a problem. This is what you do. This is the landlord's information. You know, when it comes to home, here's the bank statements. Here's the passwords. Here's the, all the stuff and things that you think about when you go in, because you don't know what's going to happen. What if you don't come out? What happens if you're if there's a complication? I remember when I was going in for neck surgery, my middle son, was just learning how to drive, and he hadn't even been out yet, and he didn't want to, and I pretty much forced him to. And first time around, we were driving, and I'm teaching him, and he hits a parked car, and man, was he upset about this freaking parked car. And we left our note, don't worry, we didn't do a hit and run. And he was like, I'm done. And I forced him. We left there and went to a parking lot, and I forced him to continue to drive. And he was so mad at me. And he's like, why? Why are you being like this? Why are you forcing me? I just want to be done. And I looked at him and I said, I'm having surgery tomorrow. This is the only chance I get. And if I die on that operating table, I need you to know how to survive without me. And it's hard to say that, and it's hard to think that way, but you don't know. You don't know what tomorrow brings. I mean, any of us, tomorrow could be our last day. We could get into a car accident, or a simple tiny procedure like today could turn into something bad. You could take your son for a walk and have a brain aneurysm. That happened to a friend. He was at a park and lost his life with his 3-year-old son. It happens, and you don't know. But when you have a situation like this, where obviously that there's risks, and there's always risks, you need to prepare. You need to prepare your what ifs, and it is much better to be prepared than unprepared, I can tell you that. But you think about all the things that you want to prepare them for, whether it's your kids or your employees or your spouse, and it's so stressful. You realize how much you carry when you start planning for your absence. The voice in your head talks about all the what if thoughts. What if I get hurt? What if there are complications? What if I don't make it? What if I need to stay in the hospital longer? What if I don't come out of the hospital? What happens if, I end up paralyzed and in a wheelchair and I can't do my job anymore? What if everything goes smoothly, but recovery is awful? Or you end up with an infection, or you end up in more pain? What if the employees burn the building down while I'm gone? What happens if the kids, something happens with the kids while I'm gone? The vulnerability is real. But I have to let go. I don't have a choice. I have to let go. I have to have faith, because it is out of my control. Okay. I'm going to be honest. This part feels a little emotional to say out loud. When something like this happens, you realize how fragile control really is, because you have none of it, and that is hard, especially for business owners who are used to being in control. Ignoring your own health puts you in situations where you don't want to be. You feel like you don't have a choice. But what happens when your decision puts you in a situation where you are forced to stop? You push through exhaustion, you push through pain, issues, resting feels earned instead of necessary. Sometimes the break you didn't want is the one your body has been asking for. We take care of everyone else all the time, our families, our employees, our customers, and we forget that we are people too. You gotta let go. You need to trust that your staff will handle things, that your family's going to step up. Let them help. Trust them. Realize you don't have to hold everything all the time. The world doesn't fall apart when you step back. That's my cue. Hey guys, welcome back, or I should say welcome back to me. Thanks for bearing with me. I went back and listened to some of that from earlier, and it's a little loud. But I want to keep it because that's what we do. We do real and raw. Um, so I am home. It has been a couple of hours. I already feel like myself. I put my ring and my nose ring back in, but I still have my hospital bracelet on, and I still have all my boo-boos and bandages. But thanks for bearing with me. I'm going to try to pick up where I left off, and hopefully I make it through this because I'm tired, and it has been a long day, and rest is important, but you guys are also important. And this week, again, like to reiterate earlier, this week just got so crazy, and it got into planning stages, and I just was all over the place. And I try really hard not to make excuses because I know that we all have time. We just don't make time, and sometimes it's a matter of time management and prioritizing and things like that. But this week got crazy. It snowed in the beginning of the week, and that threw things off. And then I had my front counter person call out for 2 days in a row. So I was pulling doubles more than normal at the bakery with baby B. So I was there all day, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then trying to prepare and make sure that everything was ready for surgery, which I talked a little bit about a little while ago, but I was kind of in a hurry because I had the nurses coming in and out and doctors coming in and out, and again, it was loud, but you don't think about the things. And some people go in with different views and different outlooks. There's a lot of people who go into surgery and they don't want to think about anything that could go wrong. They don't want to think about the negative. They don't want to think about the what ifs. I'm a what if girl. My mom taught me a long time ago, you can't just have plan A and plan B. You got to have plan C, plan D, plan E. And I do try to make sure that my ducks are in a row before something like this happens. Because again, although it was just a simple procedure and I was in and out, you don't know. You have no idea. We had a friend years ago who went in for a routine back surgery. It was supposed to be easy and simple, and he passed away on the operating table because he had a blood clot. I had a family friend who was very young who took his son to the park and died of a brain aneurysm. Completely healthy, just died of a brain aneurysm. My husband had a friend, same age. They went to high school together, and he had some heart problems, and they thought everything was going to be okay. And 34 years old, he had another heart attack, and hit his head and passed away. So you don't know. You really, really never know what's gonna happen. People die all the time of um, car accidents and things like that. And I'm certainly not trying to get morbid. I hope that you guys just bear with me, because it's not about the what ifs, and I certainly don't want to stress anybody out, and I don't want anybody to start panicking. Um, but it's a preparation thing. That was my entire point. It's just a preparation thing, and it's preparing for the what ifs. It's preparing for longer recovery time, because that happens a lot. And if you push yourself and you go back, I went back to work 2.5 weeks after having major neck surgery, and it was horrible. And I still have problems with my neck. And part of that is because I never allowed myself to rest the way that I needed to rest. And not that I'll ever be 100%, because there's rods in my neck, but I should be at a good 85-90%. And some days I'm only at a 70. Sometimes I can't turn my neck one way or another if I sleep funny. And healing took so much longer. And I still believe that some of my problems with my neck is because I didn't allow the time to heal that I needed to heal. Same thing, when I lost my babies. It's a grieving process, and one was major surgery and a healing process. And both were grieving processes and still healing processes. And I did not allow myself the time to grieve. And I greatly, greatly regret not having that. But as a business owner, sometimes we don't get those options. Sometimes you got to keep going and you got to figure it out. And if you can plan ahead, that's great. If you can't plan ahead, well, it gets thrown on your lap. And that's when you have to have the faith in your employees and your family to take care of you. But it's greatly important to take care of yourself first. A lot of things can be prevented. Some obviously can't. Things happen all the time. Um, Having an ectopic pregnancy, that's not something you can plan for by any stretch of the means. My neck, I could have planned for that. I knew it was messed up, and I knew it was hurt, and I procrastinated, and I didn't take care of myself the way I should have. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed because I needed the money and I needed the business, and I needed, I couldn't afford to take the time off, whether it was financially or just for the business sake. And I didn't want to disappoint customers, and I was afraid to take the time. And then what happens is it was forced upon me. So instead of planning and preparing and taking care of myself, I got forced to. And that is so much harder and so much worse. I say this all the time, that when you're forced to take care of yourself, sometimes it's too late. So, like my neck, it forced me to stop, and it could have been easier, and it could have been prevented, and now I'll pay that price. But there are times that as business owners and people in general, we push until we can't push anymore. We push to the point where it might affect you in the long run. Like, you might end up paralyzed. If I would have continued to push with my neck the night before I went into surgery, I was like dragging my leg behind and my arm behind, because the way that my disc had herniated, it herniated sideways. So instead of like normally a disc is like this, and like it herniates, well, your disc is in here and it herniates, and it's flat. Mine herniated sideways. So when it herniated sideways, it was pushing on my spinal cord and spinal fluid was leaking. And that was causing a lot of issues. And the doctor had told me that if we don't do this, you're going to end up paralyzed. You're not going to be able to make cakes. You're not going to be able to run your bakery. You're not going to be able to pick up your kids. Like your life is going to change dramatically. And that forces you to change. If you push too hard, you're going to push your body. And sometimes that's mental as well. You're going to push your body to the point of no return. And sometimes that looks like heart attacks and strokes. I have seen that too. I've seen where business owners push themselves because they feel like they don't have a choice. But sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. You are just as important, and it's important to heal, and it's important to take care of yourself. You cannot take care of your employees and your children or your spouse if you are not taking care of yourself. If you have diabetes, you have, your high sugar, high cholesterol, high sodium, change your diet. Take care of it now before your diabetes gets so out of control that you lose a limb. I know that's extreme, but it happens. Take care if you have heart problems. Take care of them before you end up needing a pacemaker or you end up with arteries so clogged that you have a heart attack and you don't come back from it. You can work on your diet, you can work on your exercise. There are ways to take care of ourselves. Go to the doctor. If you need the knee surgery, get the knee surgery. You need the back surgery, get the back surgery. If you're starting to have problems, you've got all kinds of aches and pains, don't wait until you can't function. Go when it starts, because you might be able to fix yourself with a chiropractor, some traction, some physical therapy, something easy so that your disc doesn't herniate. Like herniated discs, unless it's a severe trauma, normally start out as a bulging disc. If you take care of that first, not always, but most of the time, you can fix that to the point where you don't have to have surgery and you don't have to prepare for all of the what ifs. Because while you're preparing for, oh my God, what happens if I take time off? Oh my God, who's going to take care of things? Oh my God, are the bills going to get paid? What happens if I close? Will the employees, bake the donuts? Will they count the register? Will they handle the customers? What if there's a complaint? What if there's a complaint? We'll get back to you in a few days. Manager's out. I'm so sorry there's an issue. Let me take down all of your information and we'll get back to you. Let your employees work on promoting the business. Post on some social media, have fun. Let them have a rest. Or close if you're that concerned that your employees can't handle it and you don't have anybody. Maybe you don't have family members that can check in. I'm lucky enough that my kids, um, my kids can go and check on the bakery if I need them to, like they didn't today. But they probably will tomorrow just to make sure that things are okay. If you don't have that, close. Do the numbers. Do the math and see if it makes sense. If it's your slow season, I try to make sure that if I'm taking time off, it's in the slow season so that if I need to close or something goes wrong, I'm not losing a lot of money. If you're only making limited amount of money per day and you just close, then you're not paying the utilities, the lights are coming on, the water's being run, the ovens are being run, the heat's on, um, people are coming, how many people are coming out? You've got employees. Is it worth it? Do the numbers work enough to even stay open? If they do, then that's great. If they don't, just close. Take care of yourself so that you don't end up in a situation that you regret later on because it's a business. And yeah, it's your livelihood, but it's business. If it doesn't work, so be it. And I've said that before. You can grow a new business. There's always things that you can do to take care of your family. We take care of everyone else, and we gotta take care of ourselves. Trust your staff, trust your family, or close. You really don't need to control everything. Some things are out of our control. And I get, sometimes letting people help is hard, but letting people help is also part of leadership. And that includes your kids. It's important. I know I talked about this with Edward earlier, but it is important to prepare your kids, especially if they're older. I mean, even as little guys, there are certain things you can do. But I know in my heart of hearts, when I had neck surgery and he was only 17 and Vincent was 19, um, hell, even before that, Gracie was littler. She was like 13. I know that I prepared my kids enough that if something were to happen to me, they would be okay. I taught them, every one of them from a young age. We talked about bank accounts, how much to keep in there, how much to save, what to put in your savings. We've talked about, putting money away in long terms. We've talked about car insurance and taxes and how to be a decent freaking human being, which seems to be an issue nowadays. I made sure that he knew how to drive a car, and it wasn't pretty, but I made sure he knew how to drive a car and how to get himself in situations or out of situations and how to handle hitting a car that was parked. We talked about that and how to handle it. And I went through with Vincent, and although Vincent was only 19 at the time, I had told him if something happens, these are the things that your father's going to need help with because this is how he's probably going to be and it's going to be really hard for him. So unfortunately, you're going to have to step up because you are the oldest. And I need you to know, these are the things that you need to know. These are the things that you need to do. This is how you live. This is how you be a man. This is how you grow. And I'm not I, I'm a hard mom. I'm not a mean mom, but it's important to be a mom to the point, or dad, to the point where that your kids are going to be okay without you. Because that's the ultimate goal. If your kids can't survive without you, I know it's hard to let go. And I know, some of us want our kids to be with us forever. But that's not what you're supposed to do, because one of these days you're going to leave first, or you're supposed to, because no one should have to bury their kids. If you're 50, 60, 70 years old and you pass away and your kids in their 30s and 40s and they've never been on their own. They don't know how to be on their own. They don't know how to write a check. They don't know anything. You have set them up for failure. You need to set them up for success. Trust them. Trust in them. Trust in them that they can help. Vincent came today and went and got all my medicine for me. He's checked on me. He's tried to take care of me. Edward's going to go pick up his sister today. Like, there are certain things. Do you need me to go to the store? What do you need me to make you? What can I do for you? Those things are important so that you have a backbone to rely on when you're down and out. And maybe you don't have kids, and I totally get that. Like, if you don't have kids, that makes it a little hard, or if they're little, but start with them now. Start with them young so that they know to help, start building that relationship with them. I got into another rant. I'm sorry. I know that this is not the normal podcast, and I've definitely done a lot of rambling, but I'm gonna blame all the anesthesia and surgery meds. Okay, so but I feel like it's important to see, even though you guys do see the unpolished side, I feel like it's important to see the really unpolished side, because that's what life is. We all go through it. Every single one of us. There's no one on this planet who owns a business who hasn't had to endure something. Maybe not surgery, maybe you're lucky enough you haven't been there, but you've been through illnesses, or you've been through grieving, or you've been through call outs. You've been through it. And it's important to share, to know that you're not alone. And even again with your everyday life, it is important. So just remember, taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It is survival. Your business needs you healthy, and your family needs you whole. Rest is not weakness. It's maintenance, and we need it. And I know it's hard sometimes, but you still gotta find it. So, we spend so much time trying to hold everything together, when sometimes the strongest thing we can do is just let go for a little while. So, if life is forcing you to slow down, it's not falling behind. Maybe it's just your moment to breathe. Thank you guys for bearing with me today, if you're still listening. And thank you, as always, for being part of my chaos with me, because as you can see, there's a lot of chaos going on here. Thank you again, guys. And remember, when life gets crummy, eat the crumb cake. It's delicious. Have a great day, guys.